Welcome all to Off the Cuff with Namrita, and I'll start with a poem by a survivor of domestic violence. I read it online in a magazine called Udaan. It goes like this: She's born of grace, a soul refined, through trials forged, her spirit's twined. Though battered, bruised, she'll not concede. Her dream ablaze, she'll find her freed. So there is a lot of hope in these lines, listeners. And today we will be talking about an organization that is giving safe spaces to a lot of domestic violence survivors. And to talk about Maitri, I do have Ranjita Morton here with me on Off the Cuff. Ranjita, welcome to Off the Cuff.
Thank you.
So she is the Director of Financial Planning and Analysis at Zero Motorcycles Inc., a private equity-backed company. She leads the finance department, providing thought leadership and guidance on financial planning and performance. Ranjita believes strongly in compassion and human dignity and serves on the board as treasurer, head of the finance committee at Maitri, a non-profit organization in the Bay Area, focused on improving the lives of survivors of domestic violence through holistic programs. And a little bit more about Maitri. Maitri is a free, confidential, non-profit organization based in the San Francisco Bay Area that primarily helps families and individuals from South Asia, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives, facing domestic violence, emotional abuse, cultural alienation, or family conflict. You can go to maitri.org and know more about the organization, and their toll-free helpline is 1-888-862-4874. So now, Ranjita, Maitri is 33 years old this year.
Yes.
So congratulations on doing amazing work through the organization. A lot has changed since its inception in 1991, I believe so. So what is Maitri's main focus on now, and how has it evolved?
Yeah, so Maitri, and first of all, thank you for such a great, explanation on Maitri. I cannot take much credit. The organization, the staff are doing a wonderful job.
Mm-hmm.
It started in 1991 basically to address the cultural and language challenges that immigrant survivors of domestic violence were facing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first few years was focused on addressing that, right? Client services, the crisis helpline, and then as the needs of the survivors were understood better, we started providing legal support, immigration, child custody, etc. A very holistic program, transitional housing, and it's a long-term housing so that they can actually be in a safe environment, and then focus on economic empowerment, training and development, so that they can actually get back on their feet and become, live self-sufficiently and gain back their self-confidence, and get back into the mainstream society. And then over time, there was a realization that yes, we're solving the survivors' problems or helping them, but it's kind of a little bit after the fact, right? So then they started focusing on advocacy or community relationships. And I have to say that when I look at what Maitri has done, we've involved the the law enforcement, the shelters, all the mainstream organizations, including so there's a lot of grants, there's community, the state and county grants, because of that awareness that Maitri has built in the community, and there's a lot of like podcasts, and we go to cultural events to build that awareness to prevent. It's more about prevention
Yes.
rather than I mean, we want to continue to help people, but it's also awareness and prevention.
That is true. It's been a long journey for Maitri,
Yes.
and I have to congratulate and say kudos to everybody involved with the organization, because it takes a lot of strong men and women to do the work that Maitri is doing. And now, Ranjita, Southeast Asian population is growing
Yes.
tremendously. So, who are you serving now? Is it mostly women, or what entails the work that
Yeah, so statistically it's very similar to kind of the national number. So 90% are women,
Yes.
10% are men, but there's no like whoever calls gets the support, and it's again primarily South Asian people, because that's our strength. There are a lot of languages that the staff knows. But if there's anybody, whether it's bisexual or any LGBT community, any kind of thing, and support is given to anybody that requests it. And we work a lot with partner agencies to help make sure that support is given. And one of the interesting things that has happened over the year, especially since the pandemic, is that there are a lot of people calling from outside the US, from their home countries, because I think through podcasts and the whole digital media, we're becoming so well known, and that we're getting these calls from people that need help because they've been left by their spouses, and it's the abandonment.
Talking about the national abandonment, that's a major issue now. A lot of women are suffering because of that, and they don't know their legal rights. They're kind of their status is kind of withdrawn if they're coming on as H4 as a spouse. So they don't know what to do. How is Maitri dealing with this? And the best part about Maitri is it's culturally sensitive. So people who cannot speak English, or they only know a regional dialect, there are people there to help them, because I can understand how fearful they will be to take the first step. So, can you briefly tell us about the programs that Maitri has?
Yeah, so we actually have a legal advocacy program, and so we have a person that heads the legal. She's got legal background, and we also have volunteer legal, from the community again, legal advice. And what we do is we provide the callers with legal advice in terms of immigration, child custody, any other kind of thing that they need, visa changes, etc. So pretty much everything that they need to help navigate through their challenges is what's provided. And if we cannot provide it because they're in a different country, then we work with agencies in those countries or the states, wherever. So it's about helping them one way or the other.
Very true, very true. And Maitri is doing such transformative work with all these programs, and all I can say is that there are organizations here. Whoever is listening, you can reach out to and get help. So, Ranjita, do you have any client stories that you can share?
So I have not done the volunteer work, so I have not personally been involved with the clients, but and of course we cannot share individual names, but I'll tell you some of what I've heard of our clients. There was one that really touched me. There was a woman who, usually the situation is, you come as in an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily know your husband, and you come to a foreign country, and and she was getting kind of abused in I would say not so much physical as mental.
Okay.
So like, when people, the husband would bring friends over, and she would be ignored, or she would be put down in front of the thing.
Okay.
And then and then later, she had children, and then he would actually lock her outside the house. And then it actually got progressively worse, where she was, beaten and things like that. She actually called. So it got where it became a problem was when it was happening in front of the children.
Oh,
So you
yes.
see, and then the son is learning. Okay, my dad speaks
Yes.
like this to the mom.
Yeah, they catch.
This is how
Yeah.
is normal,
Yeah.
right? So she reached out to Maitri, and again we provided transitional housing.
Oh, nice.
We have a lot of volunteers, both men and women,
Yes.
and so this was again holistic program, right?
Okay.
So bring her out of her bad environment, and then any kind of legal assistance, but also the volunteers help with the children, to help them kind of unlearn some of the
Yes.
bad
Yes.
habits, bad behaviors, and that's really critical, right? Because you don't want the new generations to be learning the bad things,
Very true.
and it's very difficult to unlearn, but they need new role models,
Yeah.
right? So there are all these men volunteers which are really, we're very thankful for their involvement, and a lot of young people
Yeah.
who are also engaged, because
Very
again, there are generational gaps.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so sorry, and they are doing really well right now. So the families moved on. Of course, this was from years ago. Yes.
Well, that is wonderful work, and there is generational trauma that carries through,
Yes.
and it's not, domestic violence just doesn't happen to one person. It envelops the entire family, the entire, coming generations, I'll say, because like Ranjita is saying, kids pick up the signs, and it can carry on further. That is it. And there are again, I'm going to say, people here to help, so please reach out. Helpline once again for Maitri is 1-888-862-4874. So Ranjita, you also talked about engaging men in Maitri, and we come from a culture, and many Southeast Asian cultures give a lot of privilege to boys,
Yes.
as soon as they are born. So how are men in Maitri helping to raise awareness, because it's not just a woman thing, it is about all genders, I'll say.
Exactly.
So anything about that?
Yeah. So we actually have men in our board as well.
Okay.
And to me, that's a very strong statement when they empathize with the situation, and they
Yes.
believe, by being on the board and being supportive of the organization,
Yeah.
they're showing other men that this is how you have kind of to live with equality and so kind of gender equity, and
Yes.
show compassion. I think they're the role models for other men, and I think that's really important. There is a lot of volunteer, and it's not just the board; it's also the volunteers. A lot of men, and a lot of podcasts where both teenagers, both men and women, are brought into the conversation to talk freely and openly about the situations that they're facing, and how to, like we're in the teen dating violence
Yes.
awareness month
Yes.
this month,
Yeah.
and it's teaching both men and women
Yeah.
the red flags,
Yes.
and it could be a abusive relationship where a woman is being abusive to the man too.
Yeah.
So it can work both ways. So there's just a lot of like awareness building and training to identify how to recognize it. And to also, like a lot of people, they see it, they may not be the people perpetuators, but they see it and they're a little uncomfortable. So what Maitri does is to help them kind of encourage them to get involved,
Very true.
to stand up, because that's how you can prevent it.
Yeah, Ranjita, like, when I just look at our families only and, from where we come from, we picked up prejudices and stereotypes ourselves.
Yes.
So, we have to do a lot of unlearning and a lot of relearning. And same with men, they might have seen their grandfathers or fathers do certain things or talk a certain way because that was acceptable in certain ways.
Yes.
And, that was like, okay, until it's not hitting a woman, it's not domestic violence. So, you also have to get educated and, point at the microaggressions
Exactly.
that's happening. And to tell you the truth, I had to learn a lot. I mean, it's not easy to just say, oh, this is, completely pinpoint if it's right or not. There's a lot of stuff that we need to be aware. And now coming on to the gala, which is happening March 2nd.
Yes.
Tell us about that. It's a huge annual fundraiser that Maitri does, and you've already heard, listeners, how much they are doing for domestic violence survivors. And they've been here, in the Bay Area, and now, like Ranjita saying, people from outside are calling them. So how can people get involved? What is happening in the gala and everything about it? Where is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I welcome all listeners to come to the gala. It's on Saturday, March 2nd at the Crown Plaza in Palo Alto. I believe they've had it for many years there. So it's an annual fundraising gala event, and the program is beautiful. There's a lot of art and culture, music and songs and dance, and just very poetic and just very beautiful.
Okay. Yeah.
And uplifting. And I think the theme is where the mind is without fear.
Yeah.
And it's a very well put together program. And then there's a silent auction, so we welcome people to come to the event and meet with other community members to learn about Maitri and the program, and then help support the organization. We are trying to raise $600,000, so any donation will be welcome. And I do have to say that we are very reliant on the community as well as the government. And we have a lot of government agencies that have funded us over the years, and it's kind of repetitive. So it shows a strength in the organization and the community. People that were not, they did not, 30 years ago, it was a very different mindset. People didn't like, there was this taboo and stigma, right?
Yeah.
Those very people have now, they're actually thanking Maitri for what we're doing and actually supporting the organization.
Yeah, I think because people took it as a threat, I guess, when you started, right?
Exactly.
Like, oh, they're going to spoil our communities, kind of break homes and stuff like that. I can understand that. And deeply in gratitude to Maitri, I'll say, as a community, and if I can talk for the community. So thank you for all you do. What I just read or saw on social media on Maitri, that Namrita Das is coming.
Yes.
Yeah. So she is such an amazing personality herself. So I think it would be lovely to hear what she has to say also. So she will be there, and obviously, you can donate. Go to maitri.org, buy your tickets for the gala, and also I think there's corporate matches,
sponsorship,
and you can do by stocks or whatever. So there are a lot of things you can do and donate. So I hope you all will support Maitri and be there on March 2nd in Palo Alto. So one question I have for you, it's a personal question, Ranjita, that this kind of work is not for the weak-hearted. You need a lot of strength when, especially for counselors, or
Yes.
the first people who pick up the helpline. I think they need to be strong, they need to be ready. So how has your work with Maitri changed your perception or your life?
When I first heard the stories, I would get very upset.
Yeah.
It was very difficult for me to hear it. Like you said,
Yes.
it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And then I observed the staff. They are always so positive, and they're dealing with this, right? And the volunteers, and I realized it kind of inspired me. I have to say that I am so grateful for this opportunity to support Maitri and to serve them, because I'm not doing half the things that they're doing, and they're dealing with it day in, day out, right? I'm in corporate finance, but
Yes,
I feel
yeah,
like this is the least I can do, and I do hope that one day I will be able to do the volunteer work. And what gratifies me is that they're not just focusing on helping the thing, but actually very involved with the community, with public policy, very engaged in really changing, very kind of progressive and trying to change things for the future generations. So I'm just grateful for this. This is something actually for me was personal. I worked with my mother.
Okay.
I was inspired by my mother. She was doing a similar thing back in India, and so it resonates with me. So.
Okay. Thank you, Ranjita, for doing what you're doing, and thank you for coming on the show, talking about the organization. Listeners, like I already said, you can go to maitri.org. They are on all social media handles. Follow them and get involved, I'll say,
And I want to thank you too for allowing me this opportunity to speak on behalf of Maitri. Appreciate it.
It was my pleasure altogether. Listeners, I write sometimes in Hindi, Urdu. I have a few lines here that I'd like to say. कि जो बिखरे पड़े हैं पहले से ही, जो बिखरे पड़े हैं पहले से ही, उन्हें और ना तोड़िए, हालात के मारे हैं वो, उन्हें बेसहारा न छोड़िए. So let's keep engaging in conversations that will educate and empower. Let's not shame the victim, I'll say, but give them the dignity to restart. So thank you all for joining. Hope to see you all at the gala March 2nd in Palo Alto. Take care, be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Shosha is a creative Indian restaurant located in the heart of Silicon Valley. Shosha is a woman-owned business that serves traditional Indian flavors assimilated with molecular gastronomy techniques. The best Indian bar with happy hours in the Bay Area serves handcrafted drinks inspired by flavors from India with modern craft cocktails that are presented in unique ways. Shosha is a modern take on traditional Indian cuisine. We specialize in corporate luncheon, anniversary celebrations, birthday parties, and catering. Do check us out for a memorable modern Indian dining experience. Shosha is located at 141 South Murphy Avenue in Sunnyvale, California.